열심히 살았는데 왜 나는 이렇게 됐지? 내가 왜 이렇게 됐지?
4 in the morning, somewhere in Seoul, in an alley where the sun has not yet risen, a small sound echoes through the darkness. The sound of an old, rusty cart being pulled through empty streets. A man with a hunched back, cracked, weathered hands, 70 years old. His name is Kim Young-soo, and today, like every day before, he has come out to collect cardboard. Before I tell you this story, there's something I need you to understand. Mr. Kim is not a lazy man. He never drank. He never gambled. He lived his entire life with integrity. He worked harder than most people ever will. So why? Why does a 70-year-old man have to wake up before dawn to pick through trash for cardboard boxes? Today, I want to tell you that story. The story of how a person can fall and how they keep going even after they've fallen. This is Mr. Kim's story. But maybe it's also ours. 1975. Kim Young-soo was 22 years old when he got his first real job at a small auto parts factory in Gyeonggi Province. Back then, Korea was growing. The whole country believed that if you worked hard enough, you could make it. That was the promise of that era. And Kim Young-soo believed it. So he worked. He worked so hard. He clocked in at 6 a.m. and didn't leave until 10 p.m. He worked weekends. He worked holidays. His hands were permanently stained with grease. His back started aching before he turned 25. But he never stopped, because in his mind, there was only one thought. Mr. Kim, inner thought.
내가 고생하면 내 자식들은 안 해도 되니까.
That was all he wanted. At 30, he married. They had a son, then a daughter. He saved 80% of every paycheck. He and his wife worked side jobs until 2 a.m. They never took vacations. For 20 years, this was his life. And then, in 1995, Kim Young-soo finally achieved his dream. He left the factory where he'd worked his entire adult life and opened his own small business, a parts manufacturing company. It was tiny, just 5 employees, but it was his everything he had saved for 20 years, every late night, every skipped holiday. Every one he didn't spend on himself, he poured it all into that factory. And it worked. It actually worked. Within 2 years, his company grew to 15 employees. He had stable clients. His son was in university. His daughter would follow soon. For the first time in his life, Kim Young-soo allowed himself to think. Mr. Kim, inner thought.
이제 됐다. 이제 좀 쉬어도 되겠다. 노후도 준비해야지.
That was the autumn of 1997. At first, it was just something on the news. The currency is crashing. Big companies are struggling. The IMF is coming. You might have heard of it, the 1997 Asian financial crisis. But Kim Young-soo didn't worry. Mr. Kim inner thought.
대기업 이야기잖아. 우리 같은 작은 공장은 괜찮겠지.
But then November came. and the phone calls started. Client on phone.
김 사장님, 죄송합니다. 이번 달 결제 좀 미뤄도 될까요?
It wasn't one client. It was 2, 3, 5. Suddenly, everyone stopped paying. But Kim Young-soo held on. He had employees depending on him. He couldn't let them down. So he took out loans, then more loans, under his wife's name, against their house. Mr. Kim, inner thought.
조금만 버티면 된다. 다음 달이면 나아지겠지.
Next month never came. In February 1998, his biggest client went bankrupt. The money they owed him, 230 million won, vanished overnight. That was more than everything he had saved in 20 years. Gone. Just like that. That night, Kim Young-soo sat alone in his factory office. On his desk read warning stamps on overdue notices, threatening letters from the bank, payroll he couldn't meet. He sat there alone until 3 a.m. The factory closed in the spring of 1998. Kim Young-soo was 45 years old. All he had left was debt, 180 million won. The house went to auction. The home where they had lived for 20 years. The living room where his son took his first steps. The bedroom where his daughter first said she loved her daddy. On the day they left, Kim Young-soo cried for the first time, not in front of his family. He sent them ahead in the car. Then he stood alone in the empty house and wept. After that, the family scattered. His wife went to her parents' house. Just for a little while, she said. A little while became a year. A year became 3. And then they divorced. He didn't blame her. Mr. Kim, inner thought.
내가 능력이 없으니까. 내가 잘못했으니까.
His son dropped out of university, said he'd work to help the family. Kim Young-soo begged him not to. Mr. Kim, speaking to son.
제발 공부를 계속해. 어떻게든 할 테니까. 아빠가.
But his son just looked at him and said, Son, speaking to father.
아빠 괜찮아. 나중에 다시 다니면 돼.
Those words hurt more than anything, because his 22-year-old son was comforting him. So Kim Young-soo went back to work, not as a business owner, as a factory laborer. At 45, he became a new hire again. The same work he had done at 22. His back hurt. His knees ached. But he kept going. He had to pay off the debt. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. No weekends. No holidays. The same life he'd lived before. Except this time, there was no dream waiting at the end. 10 years passed. The debt slowly shrank. And then at 55, the factory laid him off.
구조조정입니다. 죄송합니다.
That was all they said. At 55, no one would hire him. He applied to 23 places. Every single one rejected him.
나이가 좀 있으시네요. 죄송합니다만 어렵겠습니다.
He heard it over and over. Finally, he became a security guard at an apartment complex. Monthly salary, 900,000 won. About $700. He was grateful even for that. 10 more years passed. At 65, he was let go again.
요즘은 무인 경비 시스템으로 바꿔서 죄송합니다만 그만하시는 게
When he heard those words, Kim Young-soo said nothing. He just nodded and walked away. 65. After losing his last job, Kim Young-soo started collecting cardboard. At first, he was ashamed. He went to neighborhoods far from home, where no one would recognize him. He went out before dawn, when no one was watching. On his first day, he worked for 8 hours. His cart was full by the end. He brought it to the recycling dealer. 3201, about 250. 8 hours of walking, bending over, pulling heavy loads. 250. Kim Young-soo stood there, staring at the crumpled bills in his cracked hands.
20년 동안 공장 다니고 10년 동안 다시 공장 다니고 10년 동안 경비 서고 그래서 받은 게 이거구나.
He laughed, and then he cried. But the next day, he went out again. And the day after that, and the day after that, now he is 70. He has been collecting cardboard for 5 years. This is what his days look like now. He wakes up at 4 a.m. By 4:30, he's pulling his cart through the streets. On recycling days, he circles the apartment complexes. On regular days, he checks behind the shops. By 11 a.m., he goes to the dealer. Usually, he makes 5,000 to 8,001. On a good day, maybe 10,000. He buys lunch with that money. A 1/501 cup of instant noodles. In the afternoon, he rests, then goes out again in the evening. He gets home around 8 p.m. Home, a semi-basement studio apartment. $250,001 a month in rent, about 190.
처음엔 힘들었는데 이제는 괜찮아요. 적응이 되더라고요.
Used to it. Why does that word feel so sad? Mr. Kim has a son, the boy who dropped out of university during the IMF crisis. He's 47, now married, 2 kids of his own. He calls sometimes.
아버지, 용돈 보내드릴게요. 같이 살아요. 모시고 갈게요.
Every time, Mr. Kim says,
됐다. 나는 괜찮아. 너나 잘 살아.
But the truth is, he doesn't want to be a burden. He knows his son isn't wealthy. He knows about the school tuition, the mortgage, the stress. If he added himself to that weight, his son might break. So he lies, but his knees hurt so much he can't climb stairs. His back hurts so much he can't sleep. In the mornings, his fingers won't straighten. He never tells his son any of this. Last Chuseok Korean Thanksgiving, his son came to visit. With his 2 grandchildren, Mr. Kim will never forget the look on his son's face when he stepped into that tiny basement room. The son stood frozen in the doorway. He didn't say anything. He just stood there. And then, one word.
아버지.
And he broke down. A 47-year-old man crying in front of his father. Mr. Kim held him, patted his back, and said,
울지 마. 아버지는 괜찮아. 이 정도면 잘 사는 거야.
His voice stayed steady, but his own eyes were wet. The grandchildren looked around the tiny room and asked,
할아버지, 왜 이렇게 방이 작아요?
Mr. Kim smiled and said,
할아버지는 이런 게 좋아. 작은 데가 따뜻하거든.
That night, after his son and grandchildren left, Mr. Kim sat alone in his room. In his hands, a white envelope, 500,000 won, about 380, left behind by his son. He stared at it and thought,
내가 뭘 잘못한 걸까? 왜 이렇게 된 걸까? 열심히 살았는데.
his whole life, from dawn to midnight, he worked. He didn't drink. He didn't gamble. He gave everything for his children. And this is the result. 70 years old, collecting cardboard, living in a basement, receiving an allowance from his son. There's no logic to it. No fairness. Why did it turn out this way? And yet, Mr. Kim still wakes up at 4 a.m. He still pulls his cart into the darkness. A few days ago, I asked him, 어르신, 힘드시지 않으세요? He thought for a moment. Then he said,
아, 힘들지. 근데 뭐 어떻게 살아야지. 그래도 좋은 것도 있어요. 새벽에 나가면 공기가 좋거든. 아무도 없을 때 동네 한 바퀴 돌면 기분이 좀 나아져요. 그리고 이 일은 아무도 안 시켜요. 내가 하고 싶을 때 하고 쉬고 싶을 때 쉬고 이 나이에 그런 일이 어디 있어요?
he smiled, a real smile.
사람은 말이야, 환경에 적응하게 돼 있어요. 처음엔 다 힘들어. 근데 버티다 보면 익숙해져.
Today at 4 a.m., somewhere in Seoul, the sound of a cart echoes through an empty alley. Creak, creak, creak. 70-year-old Mr. Kim, he's still walking. Maybe there's a Mr. Kim near you too, someone who worked hard their whole life, but still fell. Someone who did their best, but didn't get the results they deserved. Maybe now, you'll see them a little differently, not as someone who was lazy, but as someone who was unlucky, not as someone to pity, but as someone who is still standing, still fighting, still walking. Because that's what humans do. We fall, we break, and somehow we keep going. This is where today's story ends. Thank you for listening.